2 weeks later, the SEAL walked into the office holding a check with flustered looks on her face. "Sir," she called. Oscar looked up from the screen of the computer which he was operating on. "You are back so soon?" he asked in surprise. "Yes, sir." "The bank refused to honor the check," she answered. "What do you mean by the bank refused to honor the check? Why didn't you return with the 3 million naira? I asked you to withdraw. The bank told me that the account is not empty." "Empty?" Oscar frowned in confusion. "That's not possible. That's not possible at all. It can't be empty. There is over 45 million naira in that account." "Well, that's what the bank said. They said that someone else who had a signature had asked that the money transferred to a foreign account." The secretary explained. "Oh my God." Midre Oscar gazed, trying to figure out why his Canadian wife would do such. He swallowed hard in dread. "You can go to your desk." He quickly dismissed the seat after collecting the check from her. Then he took his phone and went online to check on his foreign bank account. Then he realized that the password has been changed. Desperate and confused, he immediately DD'd his Canadian's wife's number as he losing his time to ease the tension he was feeling. When she finally picked up, he forced a smile, trying to be composed. "Hello, honey." Oscar. Her voice was hard and unfriendly. "What do you want?" Surprised at that tone, he said, "I will just go straight to the point. Did you change the signatures and the password to our joint account?" "Yes, I did. And why do you ask?" "I just tried to withdraw some money and found out that I do not have access to the accounts. Why the one in Nigeria is now empty." "What's going on, Oscar? You have been in Nigeria for the past 9 months. How many times do you call to check up on me and your kids?" 5 times, I think. "But I told you that I'm very busy down here. You have to understand that things are tough in Nigeria. Midre, things are hard, my foots. I discovered that you have been withdrawing heavily from our account, also sending us bankrupt. You are living a louse life over there, aren't you?" she accused. He smiled nervously. "Come on, B. I only trying to set up the business I told you about, and it's really financial demanding, I swear. Then I'm not leaving a louse lifestyle, you liar. Do you think I am a fool? Last week an anonymous person sent me your pictures with a Nigerian girl, and I found your HIV results which you hid in your shoebox. How long will you continue to play me for a fool? I love you, and this is how you pay me back. After helping you achieve all this, your wealth, well, I am so glad that we have been using the protection for family planning, and so, you know, I've gone to the hospital and thank God I am negative, which means I'm going to do what I should have done long time ago. I am so abandoning you." "What?" Oscar jolted to his feet. "What do you mean, Dread?" "It means that I'm divorcing you, Oscar. The divorce papers will be waiting for you when you get back. And just know, it is all over. I am having you deported back to Nigeria for good. Because I'm sick and tired of all your lives. Come on, Mdre, you can't do this to me. First you sign me out of our joint account unless you want to divorce me. You can't do that. What about my kids? Think about what this will do to them." "What kids? Let me ask you, what kids are you talking about?" "The same ones that you never really cared about. Well, they are going to know that their father is such an irresponsible man and is never coming back. If possible, I would just tell them that you were dead. You were never really D for them, even when they needed you the most. Please don't do this to me. Shutting me out of all the accounts will take me back to square zero. How do you expect me to start all over again? Please, Mid. I beg you. I am sorry for all I have done. I promise you that if you face this, I will take the next flight to Canada, and I will be the husband and father you always want me to be to you, and tell you to be kind to us, and our kids," Oscar pleaded. "Well, I am sorry, Oscar. It is too late now. You should have thought of all this before you went cheating on me in Nigeria and trying to ruin my life with HIV. It is over between us, Oscar, and don't you ever call me again, or I will file a harassment report against you to the cops. I will transfer 4,000 into your domiciliary account, and I will advise you to take a flight down here so that you can pick up all your things, or I will give them all to charity. Goodbye," she said, and ended the call, and Oscar, who was devastated, suddenly let his phone drop to the ground. From his trembling hand he placed his hands on his head and slowly slid down the wall to the floor. He was finished. Not only had he lost millions of dollars, but his wife has also divorced him. He was too shocked that all he could do was to stare dumbly. The SDing to seek protection for Oscar's supposed wealth. G-Trav down to see the DE. That's the traditional chief priest again, and they found him standing in his shrine, with his back turned from them, and he was conversing with his wooden idol. Taking off their shoes, they entered into the shrine with their backs. Jinn, who had brought a goat along with her head to the rope, The goat had been TT22 to prevent the West Briton animal from dashing into the bush aware of their presence. The traditional chief priest turned to look at them and his face was sad. He narrowed his eyes at her, deigning Great One. We have brought this goat to thank you. Thank you very, very much for all the things you have done for us. In fact, we are here to testify that everything is going according to plan. Thanks to Iodo, the Debia noted, but his face remained standing 60 days. Yet? He asked, almost adawing. Her mother cursed. This is the 47th day we came for something else entirely, not the fortification. Get, said H. The Debia exhaled pensively, then let his eyes row the tree branches above before he spoke. It would has told me to cast you two out of his presence. Jin and exchanged confused looks. See us out. Waigika asked, worried and afraid. In your daughter's body feels a disease does not want, and behind your other daughter N is a man interceding on her behalf. To a stronger god than Iodo, Iodo had decided that all these are too great to take a risk. So he had told me that the both of you should leave and never return. The Debia stated just like that. Please, Great One, I am confused. Did we do something wrong? Please tell us what to do for whatever wrong we have done. Is there any way we have offended Budu that he has chosen to cast us out? Just like that, please, help us. Consult the gods. We are willing to do anything. We are willing to pay any price. Please, help us intercede on our behalf. Jenna pleaded, trying to mulfy the priest. Budo has nothing more to say to you, Gika, for he's furious with you. He has spoken and that is it. So leave now. But Ginen wanted to speak when the Dia pointed outside the shrine. Live now before he strikes you to dead. Your presence in this shrine is a taboo, yelled the Dia, making the women flinch. Leave and take your goat along with you. It would have rejected your sacrifice, and calamity shall be you before you reach home. Calamity panted interpretation as she helplessly glanced at her mother, who judged her towards the entrance of the shrine quickly. Both women rushed out of the shrine, grabbed the slippers and hurried away, pulling the stubborn goats behind them as they boarded a tricycle and started home. Halfway through the journey, a strong gust of wind blew towards them, and particles flew into Adan's eyes. She blinked several times and started to rub her eyes with her fingers, but when she opened her eyes again, all she saw was darkness. Mama, she called in fear. Mama, I can't see. Or Ginjana asked, puzzled, as she turned to look at her daughter's face. What do you mean by you can't see? Come here, let me blow your eyes. After several trials, Aden blinked several times and opened her eyes, then she let out a desperate cry of despair. Mama, I still can't see. That's not possible. Your eyes were okay a few minutes ago, Gi said, and sudden gazed as she felt a sharp in her womanhood. She bent her body forward as she winced in pain. Adhuad, the mother, turned her head towards her and asked, Mama, what's wrong? Gika squeezed her eyes now as the pain increased. I don't know, she managed to say, but I can feel a very sharp pain in my womanhood. Suddenly the tricycle driver began to twist his nose. As he perceived a foul odor, the rider turned to look over his shoulder. There now, what car when they smell like this? Yes, Mama, something smells so bad, Aden said, scrunching up her nose. Jin suddenly cried out when she felt a hot liquid gush out of her private part and wet her wrapper, making the order to was him unable to bear it anymore. The rider quickly packed the tricycle, got down and yelled, oh yeah, to come down. I beg, which kind nonsense be this? Now see, smell. Anyhow, by me bad. Market I use God be, he ordered, and dragged out, who staggered and regained her stamina, since she couldn't see, then tried to F around her with her hands. Gina got down too, and the rear quickly moved back. How much is your money? She managed to ask, trying to mask how ashamed she was. It was obvious that the smell coming out of her was so bad that she herself couldn't stand it. You say I don't want your money? Oh, now, only God know do I be? I don't put in head, I need to go do Thanksgiving, the driver said, got into his tricycle and rolled away, leaving them stranded. Especially the goat, however, used this opportunity to escape into the bush. Mama, what's happening to us? Adan began to weep. I have lost my sight, and you smell so bad. I am sure that no K or cab will let us enter his vehicle. Adan, name my daughter. I am confused as you are. Let's just walk home. We will try and find solution to this while we are home. Okay, Mama, Adan said. I heard that mother's hand, who began to lead the way home as they walked past people. Jin noticed the look of discard on their faces and how they either covered their noses with their hands or run to the other side of the road after a long, torturous walk. In the sun, they finally got home and found sitting with N and Mike outside the house talking. Mike had come to ask for N's hand in marriage after helping her complete the dives and was more than happy to give his consent. When they saw Jin, Dan, they all stood up. Jana was crying and Ad looked so hopeless. Gika, what is it? Okay, asked N. I am finished to Gina. Wed. As she sat on the ground, the three of them approached them, but they were quickly reposed. From the smell Mantine from Gika, Jesus, Okuno exclaimed, pinching his nose together. What's that horrible smell, and where are you two coming from? N noticed how Adani was trying to feel her way around, then approached her and took her hand. Adani, what's wrong? N, is that you? Adani asked as she began to G her sister's body and face. N, I can't see anything. Ah. OK was shocked. I'm more confused as a glang at Aiden. Janea? What have you done to your daughter? Where are you two just coming from? Biesia, please forgive me, she pleaded. It is the devil. Oh, let me confess what he pushed me to do. I am responsible for all that is happening to NNA. I am the one who made us think to Osar so that he will leave her and marry her. I am the one. No, we both charm the Hez and luring we gave her, we charm them. All so that she can repel him whenever he wants to sleep with her. Gina wailed, what Enged? And turned to look at Adan in shock and in shame. Adan lowered her head and cried, shut up, there you little devil, like mother like daughter, suddenly snapped. You think I don't know what you and your mother have been doing all this world behind my back? I am so grateful that God had decided to punish you two for all your evil doings, which is even longer overdue. I also know that your mother chained me into marrying her instead of her cousin who I truly loved. Well, now that God had decided to disgrace the two of you, you will not come and be a liability to me and my house, because the last thing I need now is a wife who stins like a copse and useless blind daughter. Both of you are leaving my house today because I won't share in the curse which you brought upon yourselves. Okogo rushed into the house and began to throw Ginea and Adidana's bags on the ground while they both kept on begging him, but he didn't stop. By the time he threw the last bag, Eva walked into the compound. Surprised at what was going on when the smell hit her, she quickly covered her nose. Soon 3 policemen walked in, with Benji, whose hand had been handcuffed, behind him, and Joyce tagged along while N, who was still confused, quickly approached Eva and huge her. What's going on? N asked as she glanced at the policeman. My darling. The police had caught up with Benji and he confessed that Dan hired him to assault you at the hospital, but he accidentally ended up assaulting Joy because she looks like you. Eva said, oh, you sure was the person we're hire you now, one of the policemen said, shoving Benji forward. What's going on? Who is that? Adan asks in fright as she glanced around in confusion. One of the policemen approached, and did her. You were under arrest for the assault of Miss Joy Sue? As Adan started to protest and cry for her mother to rescue her, the policeman added, you have the right to remain silent, for anything you say will be used against you in the cult. Please spare my daughter because she's innocent. Gika got on her knees and began to plead as the policeman shook her off and hurried away from a far order. As Eva Jo left with the policeman, Gika began to roll on the floor, asked for mercy why, and dumbfoundedly stared down at her, tears rolling from her cheeks. How could my mother be this wicked? How could my mother hate me so much? Because she loves my sister more. Why would my mother ruin my marriage just to replace me with my sister? She wept and Mike pulled her into his arms, and she wept bitterly against his chest while he comforted her. Anne brought out all the presents Aideen and her mother had given to her and beamed them all, and she was instantly freed from the charm. Aiden was later bailed by Anne, and Mike and she and her mother had no choice than to move in with Oscar, who was bankrupt. Oscar reported to smoking, drinking, and humanizing and will always pour out his frustration on Gika and Adani. Adani often got beaten by him in a helpless state, and there was no one to save her from her daily fisting. Gika was confined to the boys' quarters because Oscar couldn't stand the smell, and she had to fend for herself. All of Oscar's staff and his driver resigned because he could pay them no more. M generously began to freely supply Adani HIV drugs just to help contain the virus. Okuno lived happily with his grandson and daughter N. His life was peaceful once again. Joy changed for good and started being herself. She also deviated from gossiping. Eva and N still remained best of friends. Eva became a better person, stopped sleeping around, and got engaged. She later, however, confessed to N that she had enormously sent N next wedding picture with Oscar to his wife abroad, after she discovered he was legally married to a Canadian woman abroad. N and Mike got married a few months later. They had 2 children and they relocated to Singapore. Gika suffered more because Ed began to despise her for ruining her life. And most times she could be heard calling her mother names and crossing her. It was like karma coming back on her when she remembered how she slept with the principal whose wife was blind. Oscar, on the other hand, we always come back home drunk and we often beat her up sometimes. He comes home with prostitutes, Adani. We often hear sounds of them doing nonsense, and we have nothing to say than to endure. Adani and Jin's morning turn tonight, right at the middle of the day. Hey, African TOS, by Karm Tribe. How are you all doing? For me, I am super excited that this project has ended, and I'm very sure you learned one or two things before I leave today. I have this Bible passages to read. The first one is Proverbs 11 and verse 21. Though hand drawing in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. And Proverbs chapter 6, and let's start from verse 14. Perversity is in his heart, he devises evil continually. He sows discord. Now hear what verse 15 said, therefore his calamity shall come suddenly, so suddenly he shall be broken without remedy. That's exactly what happened to Adani and Jinika. Now, the scripture says when the calamity comes is going to come without remedy. So please, my listeners and my viewers, in case you are still indulging in any act of wickedness, making someone to cry, making someone to question their existence on earth, I indulge you, the spirit, to desist from it, because like what scripture says, the consequence always comes without any remedy. Have you liked the story? If you have not, what are you waiting for? Kindly like the story and share it with your loved ones. If you have not subscribed, hey, come on, punch on that subscription button and turn on the notification bell. And you are welcome to African Tals by K-Tribe. If you love what I'm doing and you wish to support me, kindly use the link of my description or the link of my bio to buy me coffee. You can as well buy me your super things now. Until I bring another series your way, it is a goodbye from here, and God bless you.